Sunday afternoon with families in there when, yeah, anyway.
Yeah, he does. When he does Mother's Little Helper, he's like,
Yeah.
"Don't tell Mick I effed up."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or that, the Tommy's song there, Tommy, don't smoke marijuana, I don't take LSD.
Yeah.
Are we on?
There was my wife and I, we drove down to Florida. This was, I don't know, like 8 years ago. And we stopped, there was this place, it was like half gas station, half biker bar. And it had one of those jukeboxes where you could program it from your phone. It would let you pick the songs from your phone so you can be incognito. So I went into this biker bar and they're playing like all this heavy music. So I'm like queuing up like Pet Shop Boys and like Wham, and everybody's like, what the fuck? But it was, yeah.
Well, that's what it's like when I give Michelle $10 to go put money in the jukebox. I'm like, oh, you pick the songs, and she'll pick an obligatory song. Like I'll hear ZZ Top, and I'm like, oh, thanks, babe. And then it's Paul Abdul, NSYNC. It's like the whole bar's looking at us like it was her.
Not me.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're live, guys, so we're jumping right into it. The first time back, first time, long time. Hey, Craig, how's it going? Nice to see you. The first thing we wanted to talk about is they just dropped the titles for Record Store Day 2024. April 21st, I believe, is Record Store Day this year. So just wanted to go around. Did you guys find anything on that list? Have you seen the list? If so, is there anything that caught your eye? Anything that you definitely want to grab? Josh, you want to start?
Yeah, I'm very excited about the Tesla. That's a band that I absolutely love, and it's a covers EP. I know that it was originally released on CD. Very low numbers, only 1,500, so that's kind of a bummer. Hopefully I'll get it. And then the Motley Crue, even though it's a compilation, I'm excited because they've never dove into the John Corabi catalog. They've kind of shied away from it. But recently, Motley Crue has sold the rights to their music. So I do think that maybe that the record company's like, well, we don't care if you don't like the Corabi parts. We're going to release it. And maybe one day we'll get Motley Crue 94. So I'm excited about that. There's another one that I've never heard, but I'll let Aaron talk about it because he's so excited that he's gotten me excited about it. But those two are definitely must-haves on my list.
All right. How about you, Aaron?
Well, this is the first. Last year, I didn't really find much. It was really hard to find stuff. This year, I went through it, and one jumped right out at me because it's an album I thought I'd never have on vinyl. And I do have the old cassette of it, but it's a little different. They made it into a double vinyl with extra stuff. And it's this one here, Malfunction. And it's Andrew Wood's band before he was in Mother Love Bone. And I've always loved Malfunction. It's very avant-garde, but grunge, like early, like glam grunge mix. And I'm just really excited about that one. And other than that, the ones that Josh mentioned are cool. The Jim Croce live, I might be into getting. That was pretty cool. And that's about it. And the Voivod. But other than that, that's the ones I saw. But the Malfunction, I'm just stoked about because I never thought I'd have it on vinyl. So I'm real excited.
Yeah, always happy when you scan the list and you see something like that. That's been a grail for a while. How about you, Tim?
Well, definitely the Tesla, the Reel to Reel, because I love those covers albums anyway. That would be cool to have. And the Motley Crue, the Supersonic and Demonic Relics. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I like a lot of the material on there. I like the Sinners and Saints, and like there was some good extra stuff on there. There's also, I haven't seen them all, but there's also a Yes Live from 71. That would be cool, but we'll see. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Just quickly before I get into mine, I just want to say hi to Rod, the Happy Hippie, the vinyl guy. Check out his channel. Stoner Stash Box. Nice to see you. Craig from A to Z Music Haven is also here. Just want to give a shout out to their channels. But the ones that caught my eye, definitely the Doors box set, which is live in Stockhausen or something like that. The OMD, which Josh just pointed out, there's actually 2 releases from them. The Rolling Stones, their debut UK album, which has never been released outside of the box set. I'm hoping it's in stereo. I've already got the mono version of that. So that's, I guess, on splatter vinyl, and it's got some other, like a lithograph and something else individually stamped, which is always cool. And then there was a John Lennon Mind Games EP also that I saw. So anyway, those are the things apart outside of the ones that you guys already mentioned. Those are the ones that kind of grabbed my attention. But we're not here to talk about Record Store Day. Although I will say, Josh and I were talking a little bit off camera. The Beatles are releasing, I think this is so stupid. I don't know if anybody else has a different opinion than me, but they're releasing these 3-inch singles on a special record player that you have to buy separate. And it's like there's so much stuff out there that you could release from that band, legitimate releases. They're going the gimmick route. Totally stupid. They did that with the Doors last year. I mean, who is buying these things? They're not even practical. Are you really going to listen to them beyond the novelty of taking it home the first time? So anyway, I don't want to go on too long about that, but it's just ridiculous when they do gimmicky stuff like that, when there's so much more worthwhile stuff that they could eventually put out. But anyway, we are here to talk about box sets. We're going to be talking about our 5 favorite box sets, and I didn't really put any caveats on it, any rules in place, like they have to be CD box sets or they can't be studio albums or anything like that. It's pretty much a free for all. Whatever your 5 favorite box sets are, we're going to talk about that. I think I allowed one honorable mention as well, if you're interested, or if you have one to show. But yeah, box sets, and I think it was the Led Zeppelin box set where things really caught on. I believe that was 1990. That's when that sold in such large quantities. I think that's when a lot of record companies stood up and took notice and were like, wow, this can be a thing. It's like wonderful because you can get, for people who don't want to buy an entire discography, invest in a discography by a band, you can cherry pick the best stuff, 4 CDs. I mean, a lot of them, and I'm going to give one of my picks away right here, but just for the sake of showing it, a lot of them were in this 12-inch format, the box. There were usually 3 or 4 CDs in there. They were all in jewel cases. They usually had some kind of foam thing that they would fit into. I mean, they were pretty nice, pretty elaborate. And then I think over the years, then they started getting like the narrow ones and got a little bit cheaper. They weren't really quite giving you the value for the money in terms of the actual set itself. But anybody have anything they want to comment on about box sets in general before we kind of get into our list?
Yeah, I mean, Jeff, I think you're right about the Led Zeppelin. I bought that when it came out, but the one box set that I think preceded it was the Bruce Springsteen 75 to 85. That was an enormously successful box set, and I absolutely love it. I can't believe it didn't make my list today, thinking about it now, because I love it. With the hype, dude, you're killing me, brother.
Yeah, still.
You're killing me. But yeah, I absolutely love that box set. And the Led Zeppelin definitely took it to another level. And people still, even though the CD box set has evolved and now they're these really small packages, it's more about small and fitting on your shelf. I do think that those big boxes that look like records helped it back in the day. Sitting on the shelf, it looks so cool, like a record.
Yeah, and what did that retail for back in the day, Josh? Do you remember when that came out?
It was expensive. I think it was like $79 because I remember at that point I had just graduated from high school and I had like a real job. I remember it being like a significant chunk of my paycheck to grab it.
Well, here's a question for you before we get into our list. What was the first box set you ever bought? What year was it? And I guess you want to talk about, like, did you own any of the studio albums by that band? Was it just sort of like over and above what you already had by that particular artist? Maybe like we'll do our number 5, but before number 5, just talk about what was the first box set that you ever bought and what year was it?
Mine's was a Springsteen 7585, and I would say I probably got it around 1990. At that point, it had been out a couple of years. I think I got it discounted for some reason, like on sale or like used at a record store. And I loved it. I still love it. So yeah, that was my first.
My first was that as well, but it was given to us as a gift for like Christmas from a family friend. But it was 5 cassettes, I believe, in it. Instead of the record, it was cassette. That was the first one I had too.
I should find that cassette one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It was also released on 8-track, by the way, if you were in the Columbia House.
Oh man.
I'm not even kidding.
Wow.
It was on 4 cartridges.
That's got to be really expensive now.
I got a picture of that in my 8-track book. But well, actually, my first box set I ever bought, I was going to say it's one of my 5, but that's all right. I can get another one. Yeah, I don't know if I'd ever start a collection with a box set. I'd have to be a fan of whoever it was, but that's just me. But the first time that a band that I was actively into put a box set out was
Oh, love it.
Pandora's Box,
Great one.
which came out in late 91. I had never bought anything like this before. And I had a job, I was in grade 12, but I had a job. So, I mean, this was probably $60, $70. It was a lot of money. And, but there's at least one full CD's worth of unreleased stuff on here, and not just live material. There's a lot of good stuff on here. This was the first time I knew that there was such a thing as Whitford St. Holmes. I didn't know about that. But yeah, it's got some fun alternate takes on songs, and yeah, it's still one of my favorite box sets. I mean, there's been Aerosmith have done other big compilations, but I don't think they've ever bettered this. So I'll go get another one for one of my 5, but that's the first one I ever bought.
I actually got that for Christmas when it came out. Mine was cassette, so it's excellent. That's a really good box set.
Oh yeah, I love that box set. I wish they put it on a vinyl. I'd buy it in a second.
Mine was 1994, and I remember it was right after Kurt Cobain died. It's not going to be Nirvana. It was right after Kurt Cobain died. That's just everything 1994. I always remember, like, he died, and then that was the year of the OJ, the whole OJ murder thing and all that. But anyway, I was in a record store, and mind you, my first wife was pregnant with our first child, and she was due in June. And so all my money was going towards cribs and car seats and stuff like that. So I did not have a lot of disposable income, but I saw this in the store and I'm like, I do not care. I have to buy this, even though, like, I don't think I owned any CDs by this band at that point. I had their stuff on vinyl, but it was the Police, Message in a Box. This has pretty much everything that the Police recorded, from soundtrack stuff, every B-side they ever released, every studio track. I mean, it is as comprehensive as you can get. And I was the Police were like my number one band after the Beatles in the 1980s. And so when I saw that, I was like, I do not care. I will, I'll take the hit financially for it, because it was not cheap. I want to say it was like around $60 or something like that, which at the time for me, that was pretty, out of my price range. But it was one of those where I just could not walk away from it. I had to buy it. I think I bought it at like it was like an FYE kind of store, one of those in the mall places. But so
well, look, you still have it to this day. So what a valuable purchase it was.
Yeah, I need to upgrade it. Like the booklet used to be stapled in. Now it like is come out of there, and so it's in rough shape. I mean, I've had this pretty much, 30 years now, and I'd love to get like a better version of it. But anyway,
that's great. I got that one, and the last time I did a Columbia House, everyone does those a million times. The last time I did it, I got that as one of my free ones. It was like took up 2 or 3 things, but that was one of the things I got.
Awesome.
Hey, Morton, thanks for joining us. We are going to now get into our fifth pick of our top five. So, Josh, why don't you start us off?
So this one others may show, but I want to show it because I was so excited to get it, and that was the Skid Row.
Yeah, I still haven't gotten that.
It's just, here's the deal with this Skid Row is I owned, the first two albums already, but to finally get Subhuman Race on vinyl, which for those of you that are not Skid Row aficionados, it was a very expensive record. It always, even when records weren't selling, was like a $400 or $500 record. And it wasn't something that I really thought I was going to get a reissue. Now we live in the golden age of reissues. I feel like everything's going to be reissued. But the cool thing about this is it sounds awesome. Even though I have a first press of the first album, this sounds awesome. I have the Record Store Day release of Slave to the Grind. This sounds better. It's got the cool Japanese tour EP. It's a really, really cool box set. They did it right. And that would be my number 5.
Well, I think I was the beneficiary of you getting that box set when you gave me your Beside Ourselves,
Exactly.
your studio version that you had. So I definitely I was thankful that you gifted me your original copy of that.
You're welcome, bro.
Very cool. All right. Well, we shifted around. Now Tim is clockwise under Josh. I don't know how that happened. So Tim, why don't you go with your fifth one?
I don't know if it's because I got up or not, but this one's kind of neat because I eventually got the CD version, but I found this. Aaron can't hear. Technical possibilities.
Well, hopefully he can work it out while you're giving your pick.
Yeah. So I was at a record store, probably a little over 6 years ago, and I happened to spot something on the shelf, and I said, well, how much for that? And they said, well, it's cassettes, okay? It's not CDs. I'm like, that's fine. How much for it? They said, $15. They didn't even have a price, and it was this.
Oh, yes.
The Yes Years. And now this is kind of beaten up. I keep this, actually the whole top of it's kind of beaten up, but it was $15. Came with this huge booklet. And it's got all of the, it goes all the way up to, this came out in 91, and it's all cassettes, and the cassettes look brand new. The printing, it doesn't look like it's ever been played. So I'm like, I knew I was eventually going to get, CD version, but for $15, I can't pass this up. So, it's pretty comprehensive. So yeah, I really like this one.
Nice. I wish they'd use the classic Yes logo though. Why did they use the one? I think was it from Talk or whatever album was kind of out at the time instead of the classic Yes logo. That's my only gripe about that set.
Yeah, I don't know why they felt the need to mess with the logo, but they quickly stopped.
That was odd. I totally lost all the volume. I couldn't hear anything Josh said, or so I had to get out and come back in there.
Oh, man. Well, we're glad you can hear now. All I said was Skid Row rules.
Yeah.
All right, Aaron, what's your...
Well, funny, this is my number 5 pick. And I was going to say, I'm not a big box set guy because I usually have most of the stuff already. And, I don't really care about demos and stuff unless it's like a special thing like the Beatles. Like, I didn't get the Winger box set because I have them all. And I don't care about an album of demos of Winger. I didn't get the Rat one because I have them all. I didn't get the Motley Crue or the Dokken because I already have all those records. But this one was 2 of my biggest grails were in this, which were Slave to the Grind and Subhuman Race, which were extremely hard to get on vinyl when it came out. And so I was totally stoked to get that. And I've been doing the thing where I keep the box set separate and then I put them on my records in my shelf so it's easier to actually get to them. And so this and this, when I first joined the vinyl community, these two were my biggest grails, and they were in one box set at one time. And I missed out on getting into a record store day because I didn't know you guys very well back then. And I don't have a record store day in where I live, a place that does it. So that's the most excited I've been about a box set ever was for that one. So since I didn't hear what Josh said, I had to put my 2 cents about that one.
You said it perfectly, brother.
Much the same, actually.
Yeah.
I will say this, Aaron, about the Winger one. I've got the demo anthology on CD, and there's some good unreleased stuff on there. I would definitely at least try to find the CD of that. I don't even know if it's still available, but there's like almost an album's worth of totally unreleased songs. It's all really good.
Yeah, because I love Pull, and I like the first album. I don't really care for the second album and the rest of their stuff. It's like I'm not the hugest Winger fan. If I was a bigger fan of them, I'd do it. But I do love the album Pull, and I do like the first album. The second album, I'm really hot and cold on. It's so overproduced, but I'll look into that. If I see it for a reasonable price, I'll get it.
Yeah, if the Winger box set would drop to $50, which isn't out of the realm of possibility, because the Skid Row box dropped to $59 on Amazon, then I would buy it for that fourth disc, definitely.
All right. Well, Gary could not be with us tonight, so much like he read Aaron's list last week, he gave me his list for tonight. So his number 5 pick was Seals and Crofts, the original album series. I guess it's one of those like 5-packs where you've got like the 5 studio albums in there, which I was like kind of surprised. I didn't know Gary was a big Seals and Crofts fan, but anyway, it's your pick, Gary. So I'm not going to make any, I'm not going to judge you on that, but anyway. My number 5 pick, and I already mentioned this. I mean, it's just because it's such a classic. The Led Zeppelin, the original one. I didn't get this till probably like the mid 90s. But it's one of the best things about this set is that the original CDs, I don't want to say they were terrible quality, but they just were not. The fidelity on those is not like what you got here. Jimmy Page didn't have anything to do with mastering those original CDs. In fact, on Physical Graffiti, there's like some studio chat that they even cut out of the original release on Physical Graffiti. So Jimmy Page was not happy at all with the way those CDs sounded. And so he went in, he remastered them. And I think what's really cool is, we're so accustomed, if you've been a longtime Led Zeppelin fan, you're so accustomed to hearing those songs in the order that they fall on the studio albums. And here, they're not quite in chronological order, but they keep pretty much within the general time period, 69 to 70, 71 to 70, 3, that kind of area. But, I really like, some of these, it starts off with Whole Lot of Love, then you get Heartbreaker, then Communication Breakdown, then Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, What Is and What Should Never Be, Thank You, I Can't Quit You, Baby, Dazed and Confused, Your Time Is Gonna Come, Ramble. So, and then you got Traveling Riverside Blues, which nobody had ever heard before unless you were a big bootleg collector. That, I think, was the lone single that they pulled off of this box set, and it was a BBC recording. But I love that song. It's kind of a little, it's different, but it uses part of the lyrics from the Lemon song. On that one, you've got White Summer, Black Mountainside, which was another BBC recording that Jimmy Page had done. And you've got Hey, Hey, What Can I Do for the first time on CD. I remember I had a CD single. It had it was Immigrant Song, and then it had Hey, Hey, What Can I Do? No, it was a cassette single. I'm sorry, I had a cassette single of that. And, again, it was like, why wasn't this song on Led Zeppelin 3 instead of like Hats Off to Roy Harper or something like that? But anyway, so you got that like for the first time without having to find some weird compilation or a cassette single, something like that. And then they had that hybrid of Moby Dick and Bonzo's Montreux, which was very cool. So this for the sound, the sequencing, the bonus tracks, which were very cool. That is my number 5.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard those CDs in such a long time. It'd be interesting to go back and listen to them.
Hey, Tony, how's it going? Glad you could join us. All right, you guys keep shuffling around. I think you guys drop out and then the order changes around. But I think we're back to Josh for his
Okay.
number 4 pick.
My next pick, I'm showing the CD. I have the vinyl, but they released them individually on vinyl. There is a box set, but it's super expensive. But the CD was a box set, and that was Tom Waits. And this is Brawlers, Ballers, and Bastards, which is, I believe it's 6 LPs, but it's 3 CDs. And it's all of his unreleased tracks, and they are fantastic. You know, it spans the gamut of Tom Waits, as you can imagine. So like Brawlers are more maybe his harsher songs. Ballers are like, ballads, and Bastards are stuff that were on soundtracks or B-sides. And, there's Ramones covers on here. He does a Daniel Johnston cover. And it's got some of his best songs. Just unbelievable that he didn't put on an album. So I absolutely love it. Like I said, I have it on vinyl, but I have it individually. If you ever see this in the wild, it's totally worth it if you're a Tom Waits fan. If you're not a Tom Waits fan, you'll probably hate it. So there you go.
Well, you say that, Josh, and I got to say, Tom Waits has probably one of the most polarizing voices in music.
Yes.
Because you can either take it or you can't. I can take it up to a certain point, but then when he starts getting into that Christian Bale Batman voice, a lot of his songs, it's like, no, that's a bridge too far for me. But I mean, I can appreciate like Rain Dogs is a great album, and certainly, whatever. But yeah,
I totally get it, and I don't blame anybody that dislikes him. Like if Aaron had made a video and he's like, "I hate Tom Waits," I get it. I get it. You don't have to tell me.
It's weird because I hate so many weird singers, but I like him. So
yeah, it's like he swallowed gravel, then razor blades, and then
I like the harsh voices. I don't know what it is. It's funny because like I always loved Tom Kiefer's voice, and people would always say like, this guy needs a lozenge, and I'm like, no, that's what I love about it. Like I love that rasp. It's what attracts me to certain vocalists. So.
Well, it's funny because Nat King Cole, unfortunately, he died of lung cancer, but he chain smoked because he felt that's what gave his voice that husky quality and that timbre to his voice. And I don't know if I suspect Tom Waits was a chain, like probably like 4 cigarettes at a time to achieve that.
Like one off another.
Yeah. But like, I don't know. I mean, God love him. He's still around. So whatever it is.
It sounds like he's had a cold since the womb. And it's just never gone away.
I love it.
Yeah. Anyway, did I say hi to Tony?
Yeah.
I remember. Anyway, usually, before when we did these live streams on whatever it was, we used to have to read all the comments and stuff, but now I forget. I can just pop them on the screen. But anyway, who's next? I think it's you, Tim, right?
Yes.
We got jumbled, so yeah.
And these ones aren't really in any order, but we talked about this band not too long ago. AC/DC tracks. Now I've just got the cheapo version. I don't have the one that's an actual workable amp. What I like about this is this does what this is very neat and tidy. On one, the CD one is studio rarities, so it collects all of those spare tracks that were on the Australian only releases, and it's all the B-sides they had, soundtrack songs. And it goes all the way from Stick Around to Cyberspace, which was a B-side of Stiff Upper Lip. So it's got all those. The other thing I like is that on the DVD, it picks up exactly where the Family Jewels DVD set left off, and it gives you disc 3 of that. It's assuming you've already bought that. So it's not giving you stuff you've already got on this.
Yeah.
That's what I like about it. It's very clean and neat, which is kind of neat because the Bonfire box set made absolutely no sense to me. Very little unreleased stuff on there. Who needs another Back in Black? I understand that was always meant to be a tribute to Bon Scott, but that's the first thing anybody buys with AC/DC, and it's sometimes it's the only thing. So why throw that in? It was cool to have the Let There Be Rock concert on audio, but that was already out there. So this was really, really welcome when this came out.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of the Doors when they did their box set. You got like 2 discs of rarities. You got a live disc, and then there was a disc of the band favorites. It was essentially like a greatest hits, which it tried to package itself as a collection of rarities and unreleased stuff, and then they throw in like all the stuff most Doors fans already have, and it was like, why? There's more material out there. Why couldn't you have put something that would have given you more value for what you paid for that? And yeah, the AC/DC, that was like a no-brainer. It wasn't even like a remix or a remaster. It was just like, oh yeah, just because this was a tribute to Bon Scott, they just kind of threw it in there almost as like an afterthought. So yeah, I totally hear what you're saying about that. All right, Aaron, your next pick.
Well, this next one I got to thank Josh for, because it's one of the best gifts I've ever been given, and it's this. I mean, you can really tell with that. This is Overkill. So it's got 6 records, and this was cool because I only had Taking Over at this point, and it didn't sound good. The one on this sounds way better, so I got rid of my original. And like the Skid Row, I keep them all, so I can just get to them easy. And that's one thing that kind of I don't like about box sets is you put them up on your shelf and you don't really get into them as much because it's just a little harder to go through them. So I know Josh and Brandon, Mr. Hall of Fame, have been doing that. So I started doing it, and I do listen to them more now. But this is a phenomenal box set, and if Ron Haggerty was here, he would love it. But yeah, it's awesome. One of my favorite things I've ever been given, and these albums, like this one, but the later ones here are kind of hard to find anyway. You got their, I don't know if you guys know Overkill very, very well, but this one here, and this, my camera's, I'm used to a different thing, but they're hard to find single anyway. So that's when I like box sets, because box sets really are tailored to people that have nothing by the artist or extreme collectors.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of the collector part of it. So that's my number 4.
Yeah.
Thank you, Josh.
You're welcome, brother. I do notice that by not keeping the discs in the boxes, I listen to them much more. I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I started doing that about a half year ago, and it's amazing the difference. Because it's just, you got to pull it out and get everything. It's just a little different. So.
So my next one is a very cool box set that I got, I think last year. You also probably can't see it, but it's Nick Cave and the Bad Side, B-sides and rarities. Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, they go down as, if I were to rank my top 10 concerts of all time, they would have 2 probably in the top 5. They are just such a phenomenal band. And this is 7 LPs of just all tracks that didn't make the album, but they're phenomenal. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing. And I love when, you have to be a super fan, obviously. But if you are a super fan of an artist like Nick Cave, it's like one day opening up a gift of getting 7 albums in one day. Yeah, absolutely love it. Great box set, and it was very reasonably priced. I think for 7 LPs, I think I maybe paid $99. So
is that sealed?
No, I still have the shrink wrap on it. I put the records, like Aaron says, I put them in my individually sleeved and on the shelf. So yeah. Nick Cave.
Cool.
Very cool. And Nick Cave is a vampire, actually. Which
Good to know.
Yeah, he is. All right, so Gary, his number 4 pick, he said was Creed, the Human Clay Super Deluxe,
There you go.
which again, I had no idea Gary was a Creed fan. They were that I guess they were kind of like Christian grunge, maybe from the mid 90s. But yeah, good pick, Gary. My pick is going to be Pink Floyd, the Wall, the Immersion box set, which is, I mean, unlike the Dark Side of the Moon and the Wish You Were Here Super Deluxe box sets, which really I think were poor value for the money. They throw in like a lot of stuff like postcards and buttons and stuff. And yet, really, what you get is not anything altogether that rare. You know, they had like three different, they had the regular re-release edition. Then they had a kind of like a medium priced one, which I forget what that was called, but they called each one a different thing. And this was like, for somebody who really loves the album and you want to splurge on it, this has got coasters. It has these weird things. They're like tiny. They're even smaller than golf balls, and they're all like the. It's really weird. It's like the Wall. There is like some kind of. It's almost like a washcloth kind of thing. Like it's really the stuff in here is like really. It's not what I bought it for. But it's just like, what the hell?
They give you Pink Floyd turtle wax,
and it's all thrown together. It's not even like in tiny compartments. You open it up, and it's just like willy-nilly, like thrown everywhere. There's no space for it. You're just like kind of sorting through this box. It's like, you know, when your grandma dies and you're going through her like an old box of shit that she had in her attic. It's kind of like what this is, because it's like, what is some of this stuff? You know, there's like some booklet with just like credits in it. There's a poster, like they have the Wall poster with the lyrics and stuff. They have like a booklet, but it's all like thrown together. None of it is organized in any way, which is like my only, you know, it's got like this envelope here, which has backstage passes, you know, replica backstage passes and stuff like that, which, I mean, I guess that's cool. You know, it's not going to get me backstage anywhere. So, but then this has like demos. It has like all the demos from the Wall, alternate versions and things like that. I mean, I love the Wall. So, it really, I mean, I paid less than $100 for this. It's got like 4 CDs in it. I paid less than $100. So, you know, anyway, I figured if there was one that I was going to get, it was going to be that one. So, anyway, that's my pick. Aaron, this comment was for you. I don't know if you saw it.
The what?
Craig says, Aaron, I have to give you a shout out for being such an awesome fan. Speaking, you know, Craig, for those of you who don't know, he's I think you're a KC fan, right, Craig? Like you know. So but basically what Craig is saying, Aaron, I have to give you a shout out for being such an awesome fan of your team that didn't win the Super Bowl like my team did.
I've been a fan of the Chargers since the late 70s, so I don't change.
Yeah, yeah. Rod says, for me, the Ramones, the Sire years. Yeah. That was one of those, like, damn it, I should have bought that one, but at the time I just, you know, it wasn't in my budget, but that's an incredible one. Bob Dylan, the original mono recordings, that'd be a great one. The Grateful Dead, Story of the Dead. Yeah, absolutely. All right. I don't know. I
think I went out of order. I just realized that. I apologize. My bad. So skip me this time.
Well, Tim's now to the right of me on my screen. I'm going to let him go next with his pick.
Go ahead.
We'll all get our, you know, choices out.
My bad.
When I got a few of these because when I was a member of Columbia House in the 90s, sometimes their box sets would be half price, which was always fun. And that's how I ended up with this.
Cool.
Sex America Cheap Trick. This came out in 1996. This is a 4-disc set, and each of the 4 discs have pictures of the band on them. Now, Cheap Trick, of course, I mean, if any Cheap Trick fans out there know, they're extremely prolific, and there was a ton of unreleased material. So this doesn't even scratch the surface, but it's a pretty good primer. And yeah, if you did get it cheap, this would take care of, the casual fan, because it still has all the hits on it. But it's got a really informative booklet, and I listened to this a lot when I first got it. And it's not a set because they put them out separately, but I'd also recommend, if you can find those Epic Archive CDs, there's 3 volumes of them. Those collect all those soundtrack songs like Up the Creek, and those are kind of rare. So, but that's my next pick right there.
And that's in chronological order. All the songs. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Now that would be one of Gary's picks too, I'd imagine, if he had it.
Yeah, it might be on his list. It might be. We'll see. But all right, Aaron, your pick.
Okay, now this one here is really unique, and I'll show it. It's Frost and Fire from Sirith Ungol, and I got this because it was only like $25. I couldn't believe it. So it's got, let's see, I'll open it here, and it's got 2 records. So it's got original and a remix of the record, plus 4 CDs of bonus material, which is remixes and different mixes of the stuff and bonus stuff, interviews, all that kind of stuff. There's what's in it, and it's got this huge book that's all attached in here. And I couldn't believe this is like only $25 or $30 when I got it, and it's just phenomenal. Sounds really good too, and it's a very unique band, Sirith Ungol. The singer is one of those singers that you either love or you hate. I love these guys, but it's just it's a phenomenal box set. I love it when they do stuff like this. And I've never even listened to the 4 CDs, so I don't listen to CDs that often, but I listen to the vinyl quite a bit. But that was a really good one to get. I like that a lot.
And what style of music are they? Are they doom metal or stoner metal, or what would you call them?
Oh, they're just heavy metal from the 80s, kind of a little progressive. You can't really compare them to anyone because they just had their kind of a unique sound, but they were kind of an underground metal band. I played them on a Tipsy Tuesday once, this record actually, but it's just, I really love it, and they're a very unique, and anything with Lord of the Rings stuff, I guess.
I was just going to say, I know that's Lord of the Rings name.
Yep. And they had like about 5 albums that just came back after 19 years away, and they put out a couple albums just recently. So they're still kicking, and really unique band. I love Sirith Ungol. I discovered them back about 10 or 15 years ago. So they had one of their records used at my local record store here, and it was just an amazing cover. It wasn't that one, but it's an original. They're really hard to get, and I fell in love with the band. And not a very popular band, but a really unique one, and I really like this. And you can't beat that cover. And I love it's like a book here, hardback book, 2 vinyl records, 4 CDs, and all kinds of info.
All right. Well, Craig, I know that's not the intention behind your comment. Was just having a little fun. Poking fun of the fact that your team, again, the team that nobody wanted to see win the Super Bowl outside of Kansas City. I'm just kidding. Whatever. I was actually rooting for the Chiefs because the 49ers knocked out the Lions in the conference championship. So anyway, I
thought it was because you were in love with Taylor Swift.
Yeah, well, there's that.
Yeah.
All right, Josh.
I thought we're skipping me this time because I went twice by accident, right?
Yeah. Is that a Miles Davis box set, Tony, around midnight?
No, that's Linda Ronstadt.
Linda Ronstadt. Oh, okay. Oh, here we go. See, I just didn't wait to see the next comment. Okay. All right. Just getting through some of these comments. Does Wildflowers constitute a box? Yeah, of course it does. Absolutely. Hardback covers, Lemonheads, got the Stone Temple Pilots. Backs. All right. Who's next? I forget.
You're next. We're skipping me because I went twice by accident.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah. We only have 2 left, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, we're skipping me. You're next.
Is this my third then?
I don't know.
All right. I'm counting my third. So anyway, this set, I wish more artists, and they only did this set with this band once. The only album in their catalog they did this with, and I don't understand why, because I love it. I think it was a brilliant idea for an artist of the 60s. And this is the 50th anniversary of the Rolling Stones, their Satanic Majesty's request. And the beauty of this box set, not only did they reproduce the lenticular cover from the original, even though my original lenticular cover is still more impressive than this, but it has the mono and stereo versions, both the CD and the vinyl versions of this. And this like monstrosity, it like opens up and then it opens up again. You've got vinyl in here and you've got the CDs. Just such an attractive package. It's a great way. I wish they would have done that with all their 60s releases, but for some reason, this is the only one that they did that with. They didn't do it for Beggar's Banquet. They didn't do it for Let It Bleed, but I'm glad I got it. I got it at a really discounted price. That's the only reason I picked that one up, but it's such a cool way that they did that. I absolutely love it. So that is my pick. And then Gary's pick, his number 3, the Sugar Hill Record Story. Do you know what that is? What's
yeah,
the
man.
Oh yeah, I said a hip. A hip.
Okay, I thought it had, because I knew there was a Sugar Hill Gang.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the light.
Okay, so Gary, the Sugar Hill Record Story, that must be, was that a record label that they were on?
It was
Okay.
a record label. Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, Gary showing his hip hop side with his number 3 pick. So very cool. All right. So now we're down to our last 2. Is that it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Tim, why don't you go with your?
Okay, so this is my 4th one. This is another half price one, and I was really glad to get this. Journey, I guess you could call it time cubed.
Nice.
It's time with a little integer. And this came out in 1992. This has probably a single album's worth of unreleased stuff. It's got some soundtrack songs, some B-sides, and it's, you know, among some of the other curiosities, it's got one track that they recorded with singer Robert Fleischman, who was going to be in the band before Steve Perry. Robert Fleischman, if you're a fan of Vinnie Vincent Invasion, he's the guy that sang on the first Vinnie Vincent album. So very different sound. But what the song they put on here, Suckled For You, it's really good, but you know, I think they made the right decision. Also, what I liked about that box set is the booklet inside of it, because in 1990 I found a cassette by Journey called Dream After Dream, which I had never heard of. And it's from 1980, and I'm like, I picked it up because I had to, you know, I'm like, well, I never heard of this, but I got to get it, and it's mostly instrumental. And it's like, what is this? And well, like this told me what it was. It was a soundtrack to a Japanese animated film or a Japanese film or something. And anyway, yeah, it's a pretty good overview. And again, for the casual fan, it would have all the hits on it.
Yeah, I found that box set at a thrift store. It's awesome. I definitely recommend.
I like the artwork on it too.
Yeah.
Does that have stuff from the first 3 records?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I like those first 3 the best. The progressive sound is really cool.
Me too. I love that stuff.
Does that have 3 discs?
What?
Does that have 3 discs in it?
Yeah. It's got the first disc goes from 75 to 80. Second one goes from 80 to 81, because it's got a lot of stuff from the Captured live album on it. And then the third one goes from 81 to 86.
Okay. Yeah, I wonder if they couldn't have filled it out, like to spread it out over 4 discs. I don't know.
There's probably enough stuff, but yeah, I don't know.
Like some live stuff maybe that had never been released before.
Well, okay, so here's a good point. Like Aaron mentioned, I'm a big fan of that early stuff. If you go on YouTube, you'll find them clips from 1980 doing stuff like Of a Lifetime and Cahotek. So they were doing songs like that right up through the end of the Greg Raleigh era. So when they put Captured out, they could have made a super expanded version of that because they were still doing those other songs in concert. And it probably would have boosted the sales of those first 3 albums. So I'm a big, I tell everybody, I like, look, you think you don't like Journey. You've never heard this early stuff.
Right.
Mhm.
Totally different.
Yeah.
I like the later stuff. I have to admit it.
No, me too. They're one of my favorite bands, but I'm just saying, like, for people that you're like, oh, can't stand that Don't Stop Believing. I've heard it so many times, whatever. But if you like prog rock, check the first 3 out. The first Journey, Look Into the Future, and Next.
Awesome. Great box set.
Yeah. All right, Aaron.
Okay, now this one here is my greatest find from a estate sale I've ever got. It cost me $110, and there's people they showed the stuff online, and I heard people online, oh, that's not worth it. All this, it's like I went and grabbed it first thing, and it was this. The Beatles. It was in the mid '80s. All the UK releases. So it's got 13 records, 14, because it also has rarities, and they were all like never been played before, and it opens like this, and they stay in there. But of course I've got them all, separate here like this, and this is what it had in there, and it was $110. And these, they maybe have been played one time. It's got, and I've never really had the UK versions. I grew up on the American version of these records, and it had, every one of these like mint. I'm not used to this camera. I'm used to my phone. Get it? But like, it's crazy. And these are the best sounding versions I have of these, except for maybe the Giles Martin ones. They sound better than almost anything else I have. And it's got, like everything.
Are they all stereo?
I believe they are. Let me look. It should say right on them.
I bet you wouldn't get it for $110 now.
Oh, hell no. Well, the funny thing is, when I went to Idaho, that damn thing would not fit in my suitcase. So that's why Aaron still has it.
You tried.
Yeah, Aaron fell asleep, and I was like, now's my chance. But I overpacked, and it's too thick. It wouldn't fit. So anyway, I'm just disclosing that now, Aaron. But
yeah, but that's crazy. Less than $10 a record for those.
That's amazing.
Amazing. An amazing time.
You're gonna have to leave that in your will to Jeff.
Yeah. Yeah. I already got little sections for everybody and all the YouTubers.
If I found that for $110, it'd be my number one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, most definitely.
So my number 2 pick is this monstrosity. It weighs like 30 pounds. It's called Unearthed by Johnny Cash. And essentially, this is all the unreleased stuff from the Rick Rubin years. So when Johnny Cash and Rick Rubin would record, Rick Rubin would say, just play what you want to play. Just play anything. I don't care. Play your favorite songs. So this has covers on it from, Father and Son, the Cat Stevens song. It has Wichita Lineman. It's got Hank Snow songs. It's got Dolly Parton songs. It's Willie Nelson songs. Tons and tons of covers. But it's also got songs that he duets with, I believe, Joe Strummer, Elvis Costello. Just all these people would come into the studio and play with him. As you know, when Johnny Cash recorded with Rick Rubin, he also, recorded, famously a Danzig song, a Nine Inch Nails song. And they do have a disc at the end that is a compilation of the best of all his American albums. So it's 9 LPs. It's 8 LPs of unreleased stuff, an LP that was released separately of all gospel hymns, and then a greatest hits of just his Rick Rubin years, not of his Capitol years. And I may not have mentioned it. It has a hardcover book. It's just fantastic. The only downside of this box set is it's very expensive. For 9 LPs, I mean, that 7 LP box set by Nick Cave cost me $99. This thing was probably $300. But it's awesome. If you can find it, I recommend it. It doesn't sound like demos or anything like that. Every single song on here could have been on. They could have just kept releasing American albums, for the next 10 years, probably. They're all great.
Very cool. Craig's made a couple comments about Journey and the Capture. Said he saw him twice in 1980 and felt that album could have been much better. But yeah, there's really, the pre Steve Perry era and then the post Steve Perry era. But yeah, I mean, I think for me, a lot of, I remember thinking like Infinity was their first album. I had no idea.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, great band. And yeah, no, I love when there's like all that leftover studio stuff. And I mean, just that there was enough to compile into a box set shows just how prolific those sessions were.
Yeah, I really honestly wish he had released them. They had just kept releasing the American albums for the next 10 years because so many people have not heard that box set and they love those American albums. I wish. It's just very expensive. Even the CD box set is expensive. So,
hey Brandon, how's it going? We were talking about you earlier. Like one of these Thursdays, you got to join us, brother.
Yeah, man, we miss you, dude.
All right.
And Rock one sounds really cool too. That Maureen mentioned on the comments.
Oh yeah. All right.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think it's you, Aaron, now.
Me?
Yeah.
Are you sure? It's my number one?
Isn't it you?
No. Oh,
No,
is it you? See, I'm
you.
all mixed up when it's not in like clockwise order. Okay, so it's me. All right. Mine, this is the most elaborate box set I think I own. I'm just blown away by the attention to detail that they put into this. And I'm talking about this monstrosity. It's these, like, I don't know what you call it, super deluxe or whatever, but the Beach Boys Smile. And I know you can't really see it on camera, but this lid, it's like a diorama. It's like a 3D diorama. It's actually the shop because the cover of the original Smile album, it's like a storefront. And this has like, it's actually like the window here. It's 3D. It's so incredible that they did that. And then on the backside, it's weird. It's like the backside of the album. So you'd almost think like, oh, is there an album stuck in here? But it's not. It's just the way the back of the record looks. But it's got the vinyl record in here. For those of you who aren't Beach Boys fans who don't know, Smile was the most legendary album that was never released. Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys went into the studio late 1966 after recording the Pet Sounds album. And it was his most ambitious project to date, but he was doing a lot of LSD. The band, to varying degrees, were less than enthusiastic about the music that he was coming up with. The record company had been screwing them on royalties, so they sued Capitol Records for unpaid royalties. And so that kind of got them into I don't want to say hot water with the record company, but the record company after that was kind of very lukewarm on any future Beach Boys product. But so you've got the sessions. They basically recreated what they thought the album sounded like. The template for that was Brian Wilson's solo album, Smile, which had come out a few years before. But you've got like outtakes and things like that. There's a couple of 7-inch singles here for Heroes and Villains and the song Surf's Up. There's posters. There's a booklet, like the original booklet that would have been released. It's really remarkable how much there's a hardcover book that comes with it. I mean, they spared no expense. And it's one of the most beautiful and well thought out box sets. You've got all the like CD. It's also got CDs as well. I should say that it's got the vinyl and then it's got CDs. Like almost every single outtake from those sessions. A lot of the stuff people thought were lost. They thought Brian Wilson had gotten rid of it all, but it's really like more than I think most fans would be able to sit through and listen. I happen to be one of the few that, I love like take 3, take 4, take 5. I know everybody's not like that, but I am a big fan. This is just like the track listing of like everything on here. It's really incredible. There's like 4 CDs and it's like Heroes and Villain. There's probably like 40 takes of that. There's like 50 takes of Good Vibrations. It's so incredible. They really like completely cleared out the vault for that release. So anyway, that's my, not only for the packaging of it, but also the content you got. And I think I paid like a little over $100 for that, but it was well worth it for my money anyway.
What was Gary's pick?
Gary's pick was the Pointer Sisters original album series, which I guess is another one of those things where you get like 5 studio albums. He said he just left a comment. I love Neutron Dance, whatever that means. But
hey, Pointer Sisters is one of that was my first probably R&B record that I ever purchased. I don't mind the Neutron Dance. I'm with Gary on that one.
Well, I'm just surprised. Like he hasn't mentioned UFO. He hasn't mentioned Cheap Trick yet. He hasn't mentioned, Stevie Ray Vaughan, like any of those. So I don't know. Gary's totally going off brand for these picks. But I can appreciate that. So anyway, Craig, sorry if you're not here anymore. But Dare Me by Pointer Sisters. I don't know if I'm familiar with that one, but
my favorite song by the Pointer Sisters is the Pinball song from Sesame Street. Seriously, that's them.
Is it? Okay.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I'm just trying to get through some of these comments. They're great. Melvin's cover of I Get Around. Huh. All right. Did I miss any? Yeah. All right. Okay. Now our number one pick, the best box set that we own. The one that's going to make everybody jealous. Tim, what's your pick?
The Life and Crimes of Alice.
I knew it.
Yeah. This is a super cool box set. This is almost a 3D thing, like he's behind bars, but this came out in '99 and it's Rhino. Rhino usually does a good job. It's 4 discs. I would say this has about one like heaping CD of unreleased stuff. And I was just getting into Alice when this came out. So this was a good purchase. And it's got a really great booklet. Unfortunately, the booklet's kind of fallen apart. The seams are coming apart. But what I like about it is that it lists all the albums, the singles, the chart positions, and it's got a pretty good write-up. And perfect introduction to Alice Cooper if you really want to delve deep. So that
awesome. I've never heard that box set. It looks really cool.
It is really cool. Like each of the discs, I can't remember if I've still got this or not, but okay. So each of the discs has a different picture. I'll just show you real quick. So the first one has, the early eye makeup like that. Disc 2 is more of the mid 70s. Disc 3, and then disc 4 is a little more recent looking. But what's funny about this, and I don't know if most of them were like this, but disc 2 comes with, so it's got that, and on the back it's got that, which is a single cover, but it's got like multiples of these. I don't know why. It's got like a dozen, or it's got like, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's got 7 altogether.
Wow.
But it's a great box set. If you can find it, I highly recommend it.
I'd buy that.
It's as recent as Last Temptation.
Maybe yours was like the last one they produced, and they had all these leftover inserts for that particular
It's
CD.
weird that it's
We'll just give this guy everything. Yeah,
just for this one disc. But
wow.
You know, it's funny because I was listening to a lot of Alice Cooper over the last couple of weeks, and Roses on White Lace may be my favorite Alice Cooper song.
Yeah.
Like, I love Under My Wheels. I love Desperado. There's so many songs I love, but every time I hear Roses on White Lace, I just get like the hair stands up my arms just thinking about it. Like, I love that song so much.
Well, what's really great about this is that it's primarily, his Warner Brothers stuff, but it's got the MCA stuff. It's got the Sony stuff. Like, they are able to get the rights to all of them. Actually, it's newer than Last Temptation because it's got that song Hands of Death with Rob Zombie, which I think is from '96. That's from the X-Files soundtrack.
That's cool. Yeah. If I ever see that, I will grab it.
Yeah, about the one thing that I would have put on here that's not on here is the song It Rained All Night, which was the B-side of Hey Stupid and was on the international versions of that album. It's a great song, and I would have stuck it on there.
Yeah.
Shoe Salesman. Wow, that's from the second album, I think. It's got lots of early stuff too. Like, it's got stuff like Don't Blow Your Mind, The Spiders, Hitchhike, Why Don't You Love Me? Like, you'd never know it was Alice. That's even before it gets into the first two albums. So, and it's still got all of the songs that you would expect it to have, but it's got a bunch of soundtrack songs. It's got the song Because, which is a Beatles song from Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, same as where Aerosmith Come Together came from. This is with the Bee Gees. It's just chock full of good stuff.
Wow. Alice Cooper sings Because?
Yeah.
That's going to be wild.
So so that soundtrack has all, people doing Beatles songs, right? From that.
Yeah, I never heard that soundtrack.
Yeah. Well, you've heard
Aerosmith.
Come Together by Aerosmith.
Yeah.
And then Earth, Wind, and Fire had a hit with their version of Got to Get You Into My Life. But, so it's totally Alice. He's like, because the world. He's totally Alice, right? And yet the Bee Gees are doing the harmonies in the background. Like, it's pretty wild.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's funny. All right. Yeah, Aaron.
I'm up. Okay, now this one here is a 6.5-year anniversary collection, because who doesn't need a 6.5-year anniversary set? Metallica, the Good, the Bad, and the Live, and this is awesome. I'll show you what's in it. It's got Jump in the Fire, and then it's got Harvard. These aren't in order because I just pulled them out. Harvester of Sorrow, so it's it's got Harvester of Sorrow, Breadfen, and the Prince on this one. Creeping Death with Am I Evil and Blitzkrieg, and these all sound great too. It's got a couple. That's a poster here, and then we've got this one live. Harvester of Sorrow 1 and Breadfen all live on this one, and it's a 12-inch single, so they sound phenomenal. And then it's got the 590 80p even in here. And then this one with, what else is on here? For Whom the Bell Tolls live and Welcome Home Sanitarium live. And I got this when I bought a collection from a guy. I'd never even heard of this thing before. It's got this great big poster, and they all sound, it's just like hearing those songs for the first time and hear them on 12-inch, singles. And there's the poster in it. But, I've never really seen that before. I found it in that collection that I bought from a guy. So, pretty interesting.
Yeah. I would buy that in a second.
Yeah.
Just take my money. If they reissue that thing, I wouldn't have to think about it. Yeah. I think it's awesome. I love the artwork too, like the pus head artwork on that one single. And
yeah. All,
I'm surprised it doesn't have the 12-inch single to Whiplash.
Yeah, that's odd, huh?
Oh, yeah. I like the Creeping Death single cover.
I love that cover.
Creeping Death, the blue vinyl, one of those originals. But yeah, they should have put that instead of the live one, the Whiplash, instead of this.
Yeah.
For sure. Unless I just passed it up. But let me look here. Nope, it's not in here. Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But it's still pretty cool.
Yeah, it's still killer. So for my number one, I'm going to kind of pull an Aaron. I'm not going to show 5, don't worry. But I couldn't choose between my Tom Petty box sets. So Tom Petty has 4 vinyl box sets. He's got a CD box set called Playback, which I don't own, which is awesome too. Tom Petty's the king of the box sets. So he's got Wildflowers, which have a 9 LP box set of that. American Treasure, which is like greatest hits with rarities sprinkled in, which is like 9 LPs. The live anthology, which is like 7 LPs of all live material, and then the latest, which is the Fillmore. So I just picked the Fillmore, but I love all those Tom Petty box sets. What's cool about the Fillmore is this is not a greatest hits. So there are hits in here, but 90% of it is covers. And when Tom Petty played the Fillmore, it was just like going out there, playing their favorite songs. They did like a 20-night residency. Just an awesome sounding box set. That's the great thing about Tom Petty. He was smart enough to record these, professionally record it, so it doesn't sound like a bootleg. And just, it's amazing. Like, if go listen to Tom Petty do Gloria, it is awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I love this box set. I recommend all the Tom Petty box sets. So I'm not going to do honorable mentions at the end, Jeff. That was my honorable mentions. Any Tom Petty box set, that's my pick.
All right, Gary's number one pick, and again, this one surprise. I would have thought for sure it was Cheap Trick, but it's Pablo Cruz, The World's Away Super Deluxe box set. And he said Pablo Cruz, maybe one of the best bands of the 70s, definitely a top 5 band for me. Love everything they did, but World's Away has to be one of the greatest albums of the 70s. So it's your pick, Gary. I guess. But anyway, my pick is, and I've got this on CD and I've got it on vinyl. I'm showing the CD because the vinyl is too large to hold up, but it is the crown jewel of my collection. It might be the only collection that trumps yours, Aaron, and that is the Beatles mono box set. This is the CD version. And these are the original analog. It's not, digital remastered. And for those who don't know, the Beatles recorded originally their records. They spent time on the mono mixes, and then stereo was an afterthought. So the mono is the true way that these songs were meant to be heard. Every album up through Sgt. Pepper. And then after that, they spent more time on the stereo mixes. And so the songs themselves are very different mixes. You've got different vocals in some instances, different backward sound effects on some of the tracks from Revolver. Sgt. Pepper is almost a completely different recording. But this is basically what you get is, you got like the mono masters, which was the single stuff, A's and B sides. It's got the White Album, which was the last album they released in mono. It's got Magical Mystery Tour, Sgt. Pepper, and then, Revolver, everything through Please Please Me. But my wife actually got both those sets for me. This was back before I started recollecting vinyl. She got me this set, and then I think for the next year, for Christmas or something, got me the mono box set, which now is like it's like $1,000 box set right there, when she paid probably like $300 for it. So it's definitely the best investment she ever made. And the way the sleeves are put together replicate the original way that they were manufactured back in the day. They sound incredible because they're from the analog masters. And it's really the people who anybody who's a Beatles fan who, I show, they can appreciate how great that box set is and how great it sounds. But that definitely my number one.
I love it, man.
Are the UK versions of the early albums then?
What's that?
Are they the UK versions of the early records?
Yeah, it's the UK. It's Please Please Me with the Beatles, Hard Day's Night, Beatles for Sale, help. Yeah, the UK versions of that. But yeah, like they finally released the Revolver version of it and the Revolver Super Deluxe set, the vinyl set that came out. But the others still, they've never released standalone versions of those. Unlike the Rolling Stones, who, you know, they had their mono box set, and they've since, at least for most of them, they've released those as standalone if you didn't want to invest in that box set. But so anyway, anybody have any honorable mentions they didn't show as part of their 5 picks?
I've got a couple.
All right, go ahead.
Do you have any, Tim?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Well, this one here, you made me think of this when you were showing the other one there. This is the Doors. So it's got, the vinyl is the mono and stereo mix of the original mix of the Doors, and then it's got the 3 CDs as well.
Awesome.
Mono stereo vinyl and mono and stereo on CD, along with what the hell's the third one? I don't even know what the third CD is. It says right on here. It's original mono mix. The third one's the album live. So that's pretty cool. Here's what's actually in it. I actually still have the thing here. So, and then this one here is a really cool one, and it's a 4-album Black Sabbath, the Ultimate Collection, and it's all Ozzy era early Sabbath. So it's everything through
Never Say Die.
Yeah, Never Say Die. And it's got a killer track list, and this sounds better than any of my standalone albums. And it's really cool because it folds. This is kind of a crazy thing. I don't know if I'll be able to do it on here to show you, but it forms into a cross, folds out into a big cross.
Wow.
Here. There you go. It's a monster.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it comes into a big cross, and it's pretty cool. It's 4 records, and this is phenomenal sounding. Sounds better. Like I said, it's the best sounding version of these songs I have on anything. And this was very, very cheap too when I got it, like, less than $50. But yeah, it's the Ultimate Collection, Black Sabbath. It's not the ultimate to me because I like the Ronnie James Dio and the Ian Gillan eras as well. But this, if you're looking for Ozzy, this is the best sounding version of these songs that I have.
Josh, don't you have a box set of Black Sabbath, the Ozzy years?
I do. It's absolutely incredible. And I almost picked that too, but I didn't know if Aaron was going to show Black Sabbath. And I knew he was going to show Skid Row, but I couldn't not show Skid Row. But my Black Sabbath box set is awesome. It's got every Ozzy album. They do like the glossy covers, gate folds. It's got a mono LP in there of all the radio singles. So when they would send it to radio, they'd send it in mono, even though the albums were recorded in stereo. That sounds phenomenal. I think it's called something like Black Sabbath, the Ultimate Collection. That's definitely a prize of mine. So I love it.
Cool. Marcus says, I think I like the Lennon box sets more than the Beatles sets. And I think he's referring to the Plastic Ono Band and Imagine Super Deluxe sets where you've got alternate takes and studio chatter and things like that. Yeah, I've got both of those, but I don't think it holds up to that whole Beatles mono collection. I mean, I could see you saying maybe the Imagine set versus the Beatles Abbey Road Super Deluxe or anything like that. But until, I don't know, whatever. I'm not going to speak for you, Marcus, but I know there was that John Lennon. They had like all the studio albums that came out and all that. So I don't know. I mean, everybody, each to each their own, I guess. Are there any box sets we regret buying?
I'm looking.
Not really. Because most of the time with a box set, I only buy it if I'm, either a super fan or I really need the albums inside.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I bought box sets I thought could be better.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think, everybody goes in knowing what they're getting. I don't think there's any like, oh, here's a box set, but we're not going to tell you what's inside until you bought it and you bring it home and you open it. But I mean, certainly there have been some that could have been better, some that were more disappointing than others, I suppose.
What was cool, Jeff, is, you mentioned the Led Zeppelin box. If you remember, like in the 90s, the mid 90s, when CDs were really at the boom, they would come out with boxes like Aerosmith had Box of Fire, I believe.
Yeah.
And it was all of their early albums, like up until Gems, right?
Yeah, it was all the Columbia albums and
Columbia, yeah.
And each one, like, together formed the logo.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so you could get someone's complete discography at one shot, especially since most people were collecting vinyl, I should say, or cassettes. And then they were like, oh, well, now I'm going to upgrade my collection of CDs, and you could knock it out.
By the time that came out, I think I had like just one or two of the Aerosmith albums I didn't have on. I hadn't replaced my cassettes with CDs. So it's like, and yet it did come with that came with a 5-song bonus disc, which still has some stuff on it I don't actually have, because it's got that the Rock and Pneumonia and the Boogie Woogie Flu from the Lesson Zero soundtrack. It's got the 91 mix of Sweet Emotion, which, even though they were promoting that box set with the video, the version on Pandora's Box is just the Toys in the Attic version. It's got what else is on there? It's got a couple other things too. They're just kind of never appeared anywhere else.
Yeah, and I think that was really cool. And, with the vinyl resurgence, they could have done more of that, I felt like. But, the Beatles essentially did that with their mono box. It was like all of their albums. Here's all their mono albums, all in one shot. You buy this box and you get everything. But,
yeah. Are there any box sets that you guys are still on the hunt for?
Some that I wouldn't mind coming across, like if it was quite cheap. Like, I'd like to get the Deep Purple Shades box set from 98, 99. I never did get that. I'd like to get the Skid Row and the Winger vinyl as well. The trouble is with the Skid Row, I've got the first album and I've got Beside Ourselves, so it's like I'm doubling up. And then the Winger, I've got the first album, and then I just got the reissued Pull on Friday Music. But yeah, I wish they put them out individually too.
Yeah. So I'd love to get the Back for the Attack reissue, just that album where it's the double record. They have the song Back for the Attack from Dawkins.
Yeah.
That one I would like to find as a standalone, and I would love to find that mono Beatles box set if you ever want to give that up.
I agree. The Beatles mono would be my number one grail. I would love to get that. I would love to get that Alice Cooper that you just showed, Tim. That thing was wild. I'm looking at. There's 2 in Amazon in my wish list that I'm waiting. One is the Fragments Bob Dylan, which I might pull the trigger on. That's his Time Out of Mind Sessions 4 LP box set. It's right now, it's like $50, so I might buy that. And the other one is a band that I'm not really that into, but I really love their first album, and that's a band called Soulfly. And they have a box set, which is 5 LPs, and it's only like $100. But if that thing drops like $50-$60, I might grab it. But Dio released a box set of all his later albums, and that keeps dropping in price. And I don't have the later albums. And right now, I believe it's around $100. But if that thing drops to $50-$60, and it's also like 5 LPs, I'll probably buy that too.
I'm only missing one of those records. That's the problem. I'd like to get a standalone one I don't have. And the Wasp box set I'd like to get, but I think I got pretty much everything in that. I'm trying to think if there's something.
Yeah, you do own everything in it except for the rarities. I own everything in it but the rarities. Yeah. But it does have Painted Black, which is an awesome cover. I wish
I had that. School Days 45, it's a B-side.
Yeah, I love that.
Speaking of the Rolling Stones, George says the Rolling Stones singles collection box set, and for those of you who don't know, that was I believe it was a 3 CD set. You could also get it on cassette. I don't know if it was available on vinyl, but it collected all of the Stones A's and B sides. I've not seen the booklet. I have the CD version of that. So I don't know what any of the others look like, but yeah, that could have been done better. But I think rectified that when they came out with the just recently. If you've seen, I did an unboxing for. They released all their singles in 2 separate box sets, 7-inch singles with the picture sleeves. So I think they did make that right. George has a vinyl edition. Yeah, that would have been disappointing to not have a good booklet.
This is a really good.
Oh yeah, yeah. I need that one too. I need that one too.
Yeah, what's cool is they have that first EP in there, which is actually a single. It's really good. Oh man, the super early stuff. It's just awesome. It's like got 3 songs, and it's before On Through the Night songs, and they're really good.
I got that. I got that as an RSD release.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, almost had to fight someone for it because there was only one left.
That's got the EP with it too, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the only Def Leppard I need. It's got On Through the Night, High and Dry, Pyromania, Hysteria, and then a live show, which is really good, and Rarities Volume 1, which is cool because it has Me and My Wine on it, which always makes me mad it's not on High and Dry anymore because that's one of my favorite songs. And, it's got the B-sides from the Hysteria singles, which were almost better than the Hysteria songs. Some of them were anyway, like Tear It Down and Right Into the Sun, Ring of Fire. Those are all really good songs. But after Hysteria, I don't need any Def Leppard. I did the other box sets, and I just won't. They're $20. Maybe I'll get them.
Well, and if you've watched Tim's channel, Tim, you actually you did an entire video, and what Tim did is he's got the original picture sleeves for the Hysteria singles, and he put them into a collage because they all fit together. Like if there had been, I think if they had released like one more 7-inch single picture sleeve.
They needed to do 2 more. They've put ones out where they were they've made mock-ups for them because they were going to put out Excitable and Love and Affection to make 3x3. But yeah,
I think I got 6 of those singles. I've got most of them.
Yeah, cool.
Christian says there's a Wasp box set I wouldn't mind owning. It's super expensive. Aaron, can you? Yeah. I'm sure you can relate to that.
It's $350.
Wow.
Which is crazy. But the thing is that those first few Wasp albums are pretty expensive, even like a repress. So but people say it sounds awesome.
Yeah, I do have all those, like I said, except for the rarities.
Yeah.
So
Brandon's Grail would be the new Stevie Nicks box set with all her studio albums on vinyl. Doors Waiting for the Sun, White Snake, 1987, otherwise known as their self-titled debut album. Most of all, that's like a running joke. And most of all, right now, my one missing piece, Jethro Tull, War Child, with one of the ugliest covers ever, I have to say. Just got that. Rat was going to be mine. Like I've only had Out of the Cellar. But I'd love to get some of those other studio albums. So the Rat box set, definitely.
That's a great one.
Did they on their box set? Rat. Or did they?
What's that?
Is it EP?
The EP?
No.
The EP is the only one I'm missing.
That's a huge pet peeve of mine. I just did an episode of my show on they should really reissue this. And I've got the EP on vinyl and cassette and CD. But for other people, I love that EP, and I don't know why they won't reissue it. There's someone.
So it is getting reissued. Stephen Pearcy I think it was supposed to be a Record Store Day release. He's had multiple interviews where he's kind of alluded to that it's coming out. And I should own this, but I blame Chris Prophy. Because Chris Prophy has a beautiful copy of this EP with a hype sticker. And now every time I find it, I don't buy it because I want to find it with the hype sticker. So that's the only reason I don't own it is Chris Prophy.
Still in the shrink, but no hype.
Mine's in the shrink wrap with a cut out of it, like it was in the cutout bins. I found it about 30 years ago. Really but it's great. It's got it's some of my favorite Rat songs on there. Sweet Cheater and You Got It. And
So funny you found it in the cutout bin, or you got a cutout bin version of it. Now it's one of the most coveted of all time.
Don't even get me started on Hearing Aid.
Oh yeah, that was that a compilation.
I sent that as a BCLT to Cosmic Brian, my copy of that.
That needs a reissue so badly.
What's on that?
Hearing aid? Oh
Yeah.
well, it's got the all-star like stars, like the heavy metal "We Are the World." It's mainly a Dio thing, and then it's got it was originally a 9-song album, but it had songs by Accept and Scorpions and Y&T, Rush, Kiss, Hendrix, and for some reason it's only been released on CD like once in Japan, and it's super expensive to buy. And there was a home video about the making of it. Like that whole thing needs reissued as a Blu-ray and CD vinyl. You know, it needs the reissue treatment. Wendy Dio's been saying it's going to be reissued since Ronnie died, and it still hasn't been. I personally think there's too many labels involved.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Speaking of We Are the World, did you guys hear Billy Joel on Howard Stern this week?
No.
So Billy Joel was talking on Howard Stern about Howard asked him about We Are the World. And he said, I got Michael Jackson's agent or whatever calling me up and said, hey, do you want to be part of this? And he's like, Springsteen's going to be there. And, Bob Dylan, all these people. He's like, well, how can I say no? Right. And he goes and he's standing next to Cyndi Lauper and she leans over to him and she goes, it sounds like a fucking Pepsi commercial. He's like, oh shit. And he goes, so him and Bruce would just sneak off and eat sandwiches because they had like deli sandwiches. And Bob Dylan was so shy, he was having a hard time singing his part. Like he was in front of all these other people. He was shy. And Stevie Wonder's like, no, sing it like this. And Stevie Wonder's singing it in the Bob Dylan voice. Like, we are the world.
I haven't watched that documentary yet. I gotta watch that. Guys, I gotta bow out. This has been great.
Yeah.
Thanks,
I got to work tomorrow too. All right, guys.
We'll see you guys
Awesome
later.
talking to you.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was fun.
It was a blast, guys. I had a great time. I got to work in the morning, but it's great seeing you. I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right. Yeah.
Thank you,
Take it easy.
everybody.
Take it easy, Josh.
Good to see everyone on the comments too.
Oh yeah. No, it was nice to see all our favorite cast of characters also weighing in too. Yeah. Twanger. Good to see you. Thank you, everybody. We miss Gary. Chris, I thought Chris might stop by, but he was unfortunately tied up with work, so he didn't make it in. Gary was very kind to send his list for me to read from. But yeah, I had fun. I thought it was a good one. Next week, we're going to do love songs, our 5 favorite love songs of all time. For a very special occasion, and we're not going to announce what it is yet. We'll wait till next week after it happens. But we have a very special reason why we're doing love songs next week. Should have done it today, maybe because it's the day after Valentine's Day. But what are you going to do? Any last words, Aaron?
Nope, I'm just happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. You hung around. Your internet was perfect. Yeah. So
The glitch early.
Yeah. No, but you worked through it. That's all right. So, all right. Well, we'll see you all back here next week for our love song video.
Right.
All right.